All right, everyone. Welcome to the Disc Golf Network press conference for the Music City Open. I'm Nate Perkins, and we are here with the reigning Music City Open champion, Chris Dickerson. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. We're inside a little house here at the Friends of Mill Ridge Park. What are your thoughts on Mill Ridge?
So it's a little different than last year. They've renumbered basically the whole course. They've put in a couple of new holes, taken out some of the ones that they thought were not as good. I would say it's overall a little bit better than last year, so that's good that they're moving in a positive direction.
And so you're just from 250 miles down the road, still on this side of the Smoky Mountains. Would you consider Nashville, how do you relate to the city of Nashville, Chris?
You can look outside here, you see barns, farmland, stuff like that. So it does still feel like home, even though I'm not really that close to Nashville. It's similar for the most part.
And I heard that you had a little involvement with some of the design here at Mill Ridge. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so after the tournament last year, I got in contact with a few people over the tournament, and I kind of voiced my feedback on it, the good things, the bad things, everything in between. And they made some small changes. I think they put in one hole that I suggested, and the holes that we agreed on that were good, those were kind of kept. But really, I just had input on one hole for the most part.
And which hole was that?
I believe it's hole 9 on the course. It was a par 4. It's a par 3 this year. So it's like the second half of the old hole, kept that, made it a little bit longer.
And we just heard that they now have access to about 200 acres right across the street. Is helping the team here in Nashville something that you hope to do in the future for Music City Open?
I would like to, because, as players, whenever we go to a place that is a good course, a fun course to play, we're more excited about visiting that place every year. So if we can make this one of those courses, or, if we have the new property, 2 of those kinds of courses, hopefully everybody gets excited about coming here. I know there's a few people that are excited as it is, just because the city here in Nashville, but to be excited about the course is a little bit different.
And I want to hear your thoughts on, just in general, the state of Tennessee. I know that you have a lot of pride coming from Tennessee, and what is it about this state that you feel like separates it from other parts of the United States?
Let's see. I don't know if, it has its differences from the other states, but I think each individual state has its own thing that if you grew up there, if you were born there, you kind of feel like a pride about that state. So, everybody's going to have that for their own state. So, this is just mine for Tennessee.
Yeah. And how do you feel like the golf in Tennessee shaped the disc golfer who you are today?
It's definitely helped me on the more technical side, because most courses, even here in Nashville, Cedar Hill, Seven Oaks, they're predominantly wooded courses, so it's all about hitting lines and being able to shape shots. I know there's a few courses here in Nashville that are open, but the rest of the state, for the most part, is kind of like Cedar Hill and Seven Oaks. They're just pretty tight wooded courses, so that's kind of what has shaped my game.
And I want to ask you about your record here at this event. What do you think it is about the Music City Open that has that you found so much success here?
I don't know exactly, because it's if it was just one course over that time span, maybe there would be something there that's tends to happen every year. But it's changed. It's been at Cedar Hill. It's been at Ravenwood Golf Course. It's been here, so I don't know. Maybe it's just that feeling of being home that kind of helps out. But if it's one thing, I couldn't tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah, we've been through a lot of changes here. I'm sure you remember Ravenwood when it was, at the time, the longest course in PDGA history.
Yep.
And if I recall, you went into a 5-hole playoff with James Conrad.
I did.
Yeah. And would you say that the Millridge Park is the best rendition of the Music City Open, the best course that you've seen here?
I'm trying to think on how many times we played Ravenwood, because there are a few different layouts that I've played out there. I would almost say that one of those layouts is better than here, but I don't necessarily think it was the long one. I have played one where it was a 27-hole layout, and I think somewhere in between that and the long course is a good, a pretty great layout. So, never know. We might see that one pop up again in the future.
So this week during the practice rounds, I was out here watching a few cards play, and we had some pretty gnarly winds out of the southwest, and it looks like the wind direction is kind of shifting out of the northeast for the weekend. And I wanted to ask you how you felt like that is going to affect the players having to practice in one direction and then having to be challenged with a completely different wind during the event.
Yeah, especially, that changing a day or two before the start of the tournament, especially today with being as rainy as it is. If you didn't find a good spot in the day, you might not get a practice round in today just because of how wet it is and how rainy. So changing the day before, it could be tough because, you've got your game plan pretty much set. If you don't come play a practice round today and you get to the tee tomorrow, the wind's the opposite, and you've got to make a game time decision. So could be tough. Maybe those holes that are flip-flopped, maybe it won't matter as much, but I guess we'll see.
And I wanted to ask you, what skills do you feel like this course is challenging in your game the most?
I think what is important out here is distance while having control. So you've got to be able to put the disc kind of far down the fairway off the drive, but also keep it inbounds, put it in the place you want to attack for the second shot, third shot. So I think mostly it's that.
Well, Chris, thank you for the conversation, and here's Brian Earhart with a couple more.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a couple questions for you here, Chris.
Okay.
You mentioned giving some feedback, as a lot of players do after tournaments. Is it just the state of Tennessee that you're really more prideful about giving the feedback for, or is this something throughout the tour that you're doing pretty consistently?
It's not something that I do consistently. I did want to kind of help out if I could with this tournament where it is in my home state, and I feel like, I've shown up this week and I've heard from quite a few different people, hey, heard you helped out with the design this year, and it really comes down to like, I gave my feedback, but that's about it. So I want people to come to Tennessee, come to the Music City Open, and be like, wow, this is a fun course. This is one of the more fun courses, or one of the more challenging courses. So in the future, I would love to be incorporated, if at all possible. And I know that's going to bring on some added pressure to, make good holes. But, I'd like to start dipping my toes into the course design, especially on this level.
Well, and it's fantastic to hear, because we're hearing players, Paul McBeth, for example, has a course that he designed, New London Tech, 12,000-foot wooded course they're playing at Worlds in 2024. And it's fantastic to have players like you and Paul giving your insight and even getting course design gigs. And like Perkins said, there's actually, I believe, over 300 acres that they're giving access to across the street, almost entirely woods. So exciting to hear you potentially have a say in that. Do you think with this course, and if the wooded course across the street, this is my last question, gets built, do you think there's a potential for a Worlds bid out here?
You never know, really, until it's all said and done, because with that much of a blank canvas, the wooded course, you can about make anything that you really want, except for the fact if there's water, if there needs to be water, stuff like that. But I think if you put in a very good wooded course over there and then you made some tweaks to this layout, you could definitely have a Worlds here whenever it comes to just the courses. Now, all the other stuff like spectators parking, all that other stuff that comes along with it, that's not really my place or anything like that. So I couldn't tell you anything about that. But the courses themselves, it's very possible if they, up this course a little bit and then they put a good one over there.
I was just about to say the same thing. I agree. I think the changes here have been very promising this week at Mill Ridge. And good luck to you, Chris. And with that, we'll let you go.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
All right, and we are here with Missy Gannon. And Missy, what did Chris just hand you in passing right there?
A nice new polo he's going to rock tomorrow that I'm going to stamp for him. So it's kind of been like my little side gig for a few of the friends out here on tour.
A side gig, you're stamping up their sponsors on the shirt for them?
Yeah, that's one of the things that's kind of hard to do on tour, on the road. You can send your shirts back to your sponsor and they can do them for you, or whoever, is lined up for that. But, we're in so many different cities and we like to go shop around and see what kind of cool new polos we can find. And it's hard to, get them stamped in a timely manner. So, I kind of took on that for myself and then for a few other people as well.
Well, what are some of the other challenges that you feel like you face, moving city to city every week? Yeah,
the traveling part is one of the hardest things. You got to find lodging, and a lot of that stuff is kind of done ahead of time, at least for my situation. And it's a lot of traveling, a lot of driving, a lot of sitting, and that's one of the things that if you're not good just sitting and listen to a podcast or music or something, then it could be pretty challenging.
And how have you overcome those challenges? I know that you're traveling with your husband Tom, and you're traveling in an RV. Do you feel like that's the ideal situation for traveling across the U.S.? Yeah, it's been perfect for us. We finally kind of found that combo of having a car and pulling a trailer, and it just is. We have our 2 dogs with us too, so knowing that they're going to be set up and have air conditioning or whatever they need while we're out competing, it's been we finally found like the right combo. And one of the things I feel like personally has been kind of a comfort for me is all the friends that we're able to make in the different cities. And I want to give a shout out to our mutual friend Abby Goodrich, who invited us out on a river float the other day, and I want you to share a bit about that float with the people. Yeah, I mean, those are just some of the fun things that we get to do as we continue to make friends and build that strong friend group on the road, is to really enjoy the tour stops, not just for disc golf. That's kind of the first check mark, is to get your practice rounds in, but then also to explore the city and feel comfortable just sort of, hanging out with friends and doing fun things, because sometimes it's easy to just sort of get into that routine of, okay, get to the city, practice, play, leave. But there's so much other stuff out there that we get to experience if we want to, and we're trying to do that more, at least in this year and last year. And you and Tom Carey, you guys have an inflatable boat.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big tandem kayak and really easy to bring around in our truck and have those experiences, whenever we want.
Cool. Well, I wanted to talk to you about the golf here at Mill Ridge. The changes seem to be pretty well received from the competition. What are your thoughts on the number of changes out here?
Yeah, I really like them. I mean, I think that there are I want to say 6 or so holes, if I can remember correctly from last year. I've been to the Music City Open for the last 3 or 4 years, so I've seen a lot of iterations, much like Chris, and he's seen more than me, but I feel like it's changed a lot every year. Being back here at Mill Ridge, the course has very similar holes, but now they've added or taken away, or I think he was talking about hole 9, just sort of used half of the hole and made it a par 3. So my practice rounds went really well, and I think it suits my game really well. So we'll kind of see what the weather has in store for us. But that's really the only thing I'm kind of worried about is what the weather's going to bring.
Yeah, how do you feel like the property is going to hold up with all the rain that we've been getting? Yeah,
there are a few spots that are going to be a little troublesome. Mainly just a few of the walkways in between holes, they kind of dip down into some muddy spots. So if there's some mulch down there, I think that'll help really well. Also, hole 17's green kind of felt a little soggy even over the last few days. So now that we've gotten some rain, I'm not really sure what it looks like. I did not get out there to practice this morning, so kind of see what that looks like now. But it's just part of the process. I think that most of the course is going to hold up pretty well, though.
And you said you felt like it suits your game pretty well. Can you expand on that a little bit? What specifically about this course is good for Missy Gannon golf? Yeah, I would say that you don't necessarily need a lot of distance. I think that you mostly need to stay in bounds, stay in the middle. And I'm not the shortest thrower. I'm not the longest thrower. I'm kind of in that nice little middle sweet spot. And I think that works pretty well out here, and just staying in the ropes. And it's going to come down to the putting green as well. So I think that those things kind of really align with my game. Well, cool. Thank you for the conversation, Missy. And here's Brian Earhart with a couple more.
Thank you.
I do have a couple more, Missy.
Hey.
A couple questions for you. I heard from one of our employees on the media team that you are usually one of the first people out there playing your practice round in the morning. Is that strategic, or is that just you being a morning person? What makes you get out there so early?
It's a little bit of both. I think that it sort of prepares me for round one. I never know, for this event, I mean, I'm the defending FPO champion, so I knew I was going to be on the feature card, but you never know if you're going to just kind of randomly get that 7:30 tee time, and so I think that that's one reason why I like to do that, is just prepare myself to have to get up that early. Also, the courses are getting more crowded every day, every weekend, I feel like. So being able to come earlier, I kind of beat the crowd and get my practice round in, and then I have the rest of the day to do whatever I want to do. So it's a little bit of both.
Definitely. Also, you are the defending champion, and I feel like every person who is defending a title has a different mindset on this. Do you care if you're the defending champion? Does it matter?
No. I mean, obviously it would be awesome to repeat. It rarely happens anymore. So, I mean, the expectation is not super high, because I know that it's so rare. And also, Music City felt like ages ago. I feel like it doesn't even feel like it was last year. But yeah, I mean, it's always cool to be defending, but I think honestly it's more like I have to just take it like it's a new event, a new year, and see what happens.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that, and good luck this week.
Thank you so much.
We will be right back in just a minute.
All right, and we're here with Gannon Buhr. And Gannon, I just overheard your mother say that you guys just arrived in town and that you have not had a chance to play at Mill Ridge Park.
Yeah, literally just got in like 4 minutes ago. We had to kind of take some back roads because the traffic was getting super bad, kind of outside Nashville. So we had like kind of get a nice map and kind of see what the fastest route would be to get here, and barely just got here in time for the press conference. Yeah, but it's pretty rainy and muddy out, but hopefully it dries up.
So where are you coming from, Gannon?
Iowa. My house went home for like a week and a half. It was good to see the dogs and the family again. And kind of a rest week. I had a lot of back issues for the whole like first quarter of the season, and finally went to a physical therapist, get it checked out, and got some dry needling done, and kind of been doing some exercises and stuff. So my back's feeling a lot better. Still haven't thrown full power in probably like 2 weeks, or at least probably like since Austin. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to playing disc golf. Like, I guess not like pain free. It was never like really painful. It just got super tight and kind of limited. It felt like my play almost. So I'm looking forward to playing disc golf, back how it was before.
And that's the first that I've heard of your back issue. Is that something that started on the course?
It started like, I think it started like after All-Stars and like kind of into Vegas. It started like in my lower back. It was more like some of the bigger muscles in my back my lower back was really tight, and into like Memorial, it was really bad. I mean, I was having to like massage it like every single hole and stretch every single hole. And then kind of into Waco, it kind of was about the same. It's just like practice rounds were tough because without like a super long warm up or like, practice rounds like don't matter that much. So I'm not like really trying too hard. It's just hard to get in that mindset of like pushing through the pain, I guess. And then yeah, Austin, it got kind of bad, and then into Houston, I was maybe thinking about dropping out of Houston just because it was affecting my play so much to where I just couldn't rotate on my back basically. On my backhand specifically. Forehands were a little bit weaker, but I just lost a lot of distance, and it just felt like I was shanking shots and missing my lines. And yeah, it moved up my back as time a couple weeks went on, and it ended up being so deep in my back I had to get dry needling done. So they put like the little metal tips in your muscles to get deep in my back, and they send like an electric shock through it to get the muscle moving again. And yeah, just like I said, I've been doing exercises, and it's been feeling good. And I was going to take the week off from throwing, like just no throwing at all. And my physical therapist said to throw like light shots because if I don't throw, it's just going to get tighter. So yeah, working through it, getting it stretched out, and I'm feeling a lot better.
All right, good to hear you're feeling better. And so you're back in Iowa. You're working with your physical therapist, and were you able to get out and throw a little bit? And I know we've seen you post videos putting in the basement. Is that something that you were able to return to this past week?
Yeah, I try to do like a minimum of 300 putts a day from 30 feet. Kind of just, I always putt at nighttime for some reason. But yeah, just getting a lot of putting reps in. My putting's probably the worst it's been in a couple of years, and I don't know why. I'm trying to figure out everything. Everything feels fine until the very last second it leaves my fingers. It feels like it's just falling out of my hand. My jump putts are wobbly. My putt is sometimes wobbly. It's so nose down to where like it's hard to. I mean, I can putt like flat and nose up, but it's like it feels like an uncomfortable stroke. So I was trying to get that dialed in. It still doesn't feel great. I feel like I figured it out a little bit. So I've been even with the couple wins I've had this season, I've been working through like terrible putting. So hopefully I can just get that dialed in.
Well, it seems from the outside looking in that the putt is not that bad, looking at the percentages, and the nose down has become one of your trademark styles. Are you trying to change from that nose down style to more of a flat putt?
Definitely not. I want like a little bit of nose down because it makes circle one putts like really easy because I don't have to play with anything. I literally just throw it at the band and it falls in. It kind of like, it feels like a gimme almost if I get in a circle one sometimes. But when it gets too nose down like it has been, I remember like a couple of times at Austin, I'd be like 25 feet away with a headwind, and it would literally like not even get to the pole because it'd be so nose down and the wind would just slam it. And So like the whole round one at Austin, I was spin putting, in which I'm not good at and I never do. I kind of, I made it through that way, but yeah, I just got to get it dialed in. I think it's just a feel thing. It's just going to come with time. I think I'll go through ups and downs. If my driving's good, it won't matter too much. But if I just give myself opportunities, short looks, I'll be fine.
And so you said the putter feels like it's falling out of your hand. Do you feel like that's something mechanical, or do you feel like that's just like something mental?
I don't know, because like mentally, I don't feel like any less like, I don't know, maybe less confident coming up to a putt. It feels, I don't know, it's weird. Like it just feels like it's just falling out of my hand, and I don't know how to fix it. I think it, and then I bet in like a month it'll be like really good, But that's just how it's gonna work. It's just gonna be on and off. Yeah, like, and I was watching videos too. Like it's weird. Like my hands, like the disc is coming out of my hand, and then my fingers will like pop after. It's super weird. I don't know. I got to get the timing dialed in, and maybe that's like practicing like 100-footers just to get the power back. You never know.
And so you said you implemented the spin putt just a little bit in Austin, in Houston. And I wanted to ask you, how much practice with a different style of putt do you need before you feel confident implementing that in a competition?
Just like 5 putts. I mean, if I just got to see how it works in the wind, so I'll do like one tail, left, right, and then headwind putt, and kind of just see how it reacts that way, and then I'm fine pretty much.
So I wanted to talk about the lack of practice here at Mill Ridge. You just mentioned that you feel like practice rounds really don't matter that much, or you're not worried at all about not having practice coming into the week.
Yeah, I like recently, like what's been helping me a little bit is like really studying the course instead of just throwing shots. So like analyzing, especially like if ground's skippy or not, which is a little tough because I haven't had any rounds. I haven't played here ever before. I know like it was a national tour one year. I COVID that year, I couldn't come, and then last year I just wasn't able to make it. So it's my first time ever at this course. I've only walked about 100 feet of it, and yeah. So analyzing like where I want to land instead of just like going to a tee and throwing a bunch of shots and just seeing where they land, instead like really like almost when you're in the middle of a par 4, looking back towards the tee pad to see, maybe there's a gap you don't see from the tee pad. Maybe I know a lot of courses on tour, the wind's always the same way, so kind of study like, maybe you have a wall of trees, and then once you get over the wall of trees, then the wind comes into play. So kind of study like that. More just like studying the course, because I know how to throw the shots. It just depends on the execution. If I ever play bad, it's just because my execution's terrible.
Yeah, and so what kind of resources are you using to study the course? Are you watching post-produced coverage from previous years?
Yeah, I've been watching Brody and Ezra's practice round, just because that was like I think the best footage I found of just the new course, because obviously they made a lot of changes, yeah, I probably already forgot half the holes, so I got to play here in probably 15 minutes, so we'll see how that goes. Cool.
So you are able to get around in today?
Yeah.
All right.
It's a little wet. It sucks. I just cleaned my shoes off this last weekend when I was at home, so they're not going to be looking white anymore.
All right, and I've got one last question for you. We've talked a little bit about the specifics of your putt. I want to talk about the specifics of your angle of release that you've been choosing to go with on your drives. You're probably throwing the most severe anhyzers out of the hand. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so that kind of goes into my game plan of playing percentages, and also like what works good for my form. So I mean, one thing, like I tweak around with like random forms all the time, or like try to throw like other players, and then the flex doesn't work, just how the mechanics are. And with my form, the flex works perfect, and it feels like I can hit gaps a lot better on flex. So, and maybe it's just the way I visualize shots. Flex is a lot easier to aim at the left side on Annie and have it come back to flat in the middle. One thing is it works a lot better in wind, because you don't have to, I mean, it's always going to have an overstable finish, to where if you play with a hyzer flip a little bit, maybe if you flip it over just 1 degree too much, it's gone right, and if you don't flip it enough, it can fade way left. And the flex is always like kind of trying to spike in the ground, and yeah, so it's like a couple things. Percentages, it's always trying to get towards the ground. With my angle, or with my distance control being so bad, and my touch being terrible, I got to use height to my advantage and angles with overstable disc, because it doesn't go as far.
All right. Well, thank you for the insight there, and I'm glad you made it for the press conference. It's been a good one, and good luck at your practice round, Gannon.
Thank you.
All right, guys, and we're here now with Paige Pierce. And Paige, I really wanted to ask you about how your tour has kind of changed over the last couple years, specifically this year. You've just played two events, and you're able to return back to your house in Pensacola and then come out for another event. How do you feel like that affects your mental well-being?
Dramatically, definitely. I show up to each event feeling reset and refreshed, and coming out here, it's like when I drive into the Friends of Millridge Park, like you're on the clock, and so you kind of get that balance of on and off time.
Yeah, and you're able to like fly to a few more events and not spend as much time in the car. I know that you've said that has kind of weighed on you in the past. Definitely,
your body and also just your mind. Like, that's the most stressful thing we do as human beings every day. We're driving, up to 80 miles an hour going down a freeway where cars are flipping and tires are falling off, and it's just stressful. Like, and you don't get any time off to process anything. You're just like on edge the whole time. So that's never good. And then what it does to your physical body as well. I've had a lot of changes to my body. Like, I'm having some shoulder and elbow pain, and I've had some like knee pain in the past just from I didn't have cruise control until recently, but just holding the gas pedal down for 8 hours a day, you're just like, dang, overworked, and you haven't even got to the course yet. So it's definitely helping my physical and mental state.
And you said that you're dealing with some shoulder and some elbow pain. Is that disc golf related? I
think no. It feels silly to say it, but like raking my backyard, it's a common denominator. Both times I've felt that has both been after like raking. So I guess I'm just getting after it a little too hard. But I just talked with Seth Muncie, and he did a lot of tests on it, and he says there's nothing like wrong with it. It's maybe just like inflammation or something. So just rest and a little bit of light like tissue work and stuff, and icing it and stuff like that. So happy to hear that he's confident in that, and that none of the like movements I was doing was like any pain. So just got to rest. But unfortunately on a course like this, it's kind of hard to rest.
Yeah, can you expand on that? You say a course like this, it's hard to rest. Is that because you're out there ripping quite a few drives?
Yeah, and yes, it's open and long and very elevated. So even on the holes where you feel like it's a little shorter, you still have to throw it hard because it's uphill or downhill, and you want to match the angle to the hillside. And then just adding on top of that, the heavy winds that we get out here, you're having to throw it multiple miles an hour quicker to fight through that wind. So yeah, everything is just amplified out here on this course. And it's weird going from this one to Champions Cup because the courses differ so much, but I'm finding this is a very good like warm up. It seems weird to call it a warm up because it's an elite series, but like it's also going to be a warm up for Jonesboro. Very similar golf out at Jonesboro. So,
and yeah, what do you think it is about Millridge that is going to challenge your game the most? You said that it's the long drive. We know that, you're one of the longer drives in the FPO division still. What is it about the course that's challenging you?
I don't think the course is the issue or going to be the issue for me this week. I think it's more of that shoulder thing that I'm talking about, and my pain level is like a 1 of 10. It's very low, but it's like the mental part of any kind of injury, right? Where it's like, I know that my arm doesn't hurt when I'm throwing or putting or sidearm or roller or anything, but it's like that fear of like, what if something happens? So it's like just trying to tune out any of those thoughts or doubts and fears of like an injury and just play through that. So like sometimes when you're on the tee pad and you think about something like that of an injury, it just makes you throw a little different. And a lot of the holes out here, you have room for error, but also there's quite a few that if you're off by a little bit, you're going to get exposed and you're going to have a couple double bogeys probably.
Well, so there's another golf tournament that's going on. The Masters is happening this week, and I know that you've kind of shown some interest in that tournament.
Yeah. I think the Full Swing documentary on Netflix really got me involved on the sport, and actually I watched that back to back with the on tour segment that the DGPT put out, and it's really cool to see the common ground in the ball golf and disc golf. And, how they're highlighting different players, their stories, the different courses. And they also talked about, there's a lot of ways we could relate as disc golfers watching it. And we've been talking about it in our community, like how relatable it was, because both of them are a sport where your win ratio is so low. Like how many tournaments you play to how many you win is so low. So like you're always faced with this defeat feeling. And like, that win, the feeling of the win is so nice that it keeps you chasing it. And so even like the best of the best, they're still losing more games than they're winning, or not games, tournaments. So it's cool to hear that. And it's kind of like, okay, cool. So when I do lose, it's okay. That's kind of what I'm taking from it, is like, yeah, of course you're going to lose more than you're going to win. So it's a nice, like mental lesson to learn, I think.
And I asked Missy Gannon this question as well, and I just want to, get your perspective on what it means to have like a true friendship in the different cities that we go to. You're staying with one of your closest friends, Abby Goodrich, here in Nashville, and what does that friendship mean to you, and how does it affect your, how you feel for the competition?
Yeah, it's super nice. And, like Abby and I, we go way back, and disc golf really wasn't part of our friendship at all. We met rock climbing, so through a friend of a friend. And, she's just such a athlete at heart, and she's played collegiate ball golf. So she can teach me lessons in disc golf as well. But yeah, just having support and having people that, reach out to you and show you love and support, whether you win or lose or bogey or get an eagle, then that's always a good feeling. And it's cool in the sport of disc golf touring. You find that all over the country and the world. So yeah, it's really nice.
All right. And I heard that you are throwing a forehand roller off one of the tees here. Which hole is that? And can you talk about that?
Yeah, hole 3, I think if you're not throwing it, I don't know what you're doing on it. I think it's definitely the play. And actually, while we were playing it yesterday, 2 of the staff members drove by and they were like, you figured it out. So yeah, I think that's the only like true shot to the basket in my personal opinion. So it's fun. It reminds me of playing catch with my dog, and he loves chasing the rollers. So you just got to miss this one little stump, which for me, I just pretend Torben's the stump and just don't hit Torben in the head. Land it right over his head and zoop, right to the basket. Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully
Paige.
it goes that easy.
Well, hopefully it still rolls in this mud that we've got out here.
Yeah.
Thank you for the conversation, and best of luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, and we're here now with Paul McBeth. And Paul, you went back down to Florida this past week. You won the tournament. You bought the property. Can you expand on your decision to purchase the Throwdown the Mountain venue?
Yeah, I mean, the short story is pretty much someone was going to buy the property and turn it into some houses. And I lived in Florida, over a decade ago, and then back in Florida now. So to hear the history of that property and to hear that it might disappear, I wanted to do everything in my power to prevent that. And luckily, I have a friend that likes disc golf and likes buying disc golf courses, so we were able to come together and purchase that property. And the goal is to have it as a permanent disc golf course for the foreseeable future.
All right, and I want you to expand on your relationship with Dylan Cease. So now one of the ace pitchers in the majors. How did that relationship begin?
He's loved disc golf for longer than I've known him. So he big disc golf fan. I think the first time we actually met, I actually found one of his discs at Memorial, and he was playing a practice round with Ricky, and he lost one of his discs, and I just said, "Hey, I found your disc. You want it back?" So I think that's kind of how we met up the first time. It might have been a little bit after that, but that was like the first conversation we really had, and just had a great friendship. My background is baseball, and he's doing it professionally, so he's living the dream that I once had, and just super cool guy, and the love for disc golf. So we have something, we have something big in common, and then I think we kind of see the future of disc golf very similar as well.
Okay. And do you still share that love for baseball? I know that you were watching his game on opening night before last weekend's tournament, and you were pretty keyed in on what pitches he's throwing, and it seemed like you're still very much into baseball.
Yeah, I think that's one thing baseball players hold forever is they tend to love baseball the rest of their life, but they also see these little ticks in certain pitchers or movement and things like that. So I think it's just the coaching aspect that I would love to do one day. Eventually, when I have kids and stuff, I think baseball or softball will be in their future in some way, because I think that's really what helped me in disc golf in general, is just learning that athleticism, the hand-eye coordination, and things like that. So I want to carry that over, but I just enjoy watching it. And then I've also played catch with him a couple times to keep him loose on the road. I know when we were at Funky Farms, he didn't make the All-Star team back then, but he still had to warm up and stuff. And we went to Disney World this winter, so he was in his off-season training, so he was throwing some balls. And it's just nice to play catch and stuff like that. So hopefully I can continue to do that on the road and keep those hands moving.
Yeah, and so you if you have children, are you going to put a baseball or a disc in their hand first?
Probably baseball. I don't know who knows though. I mean, I want my kids to try all sorts of sports. So I wish I was more diverse in all sports growing up. But baseball was pretty much the only one I ever played. But I think allowing them to play and see what they like is key.
All right, so I want to take us here to the course at Mill Ridge and the golf, and I want to ask you, how many practice rounds do you feel like are necessary at this point for you to have the expectation of a win?
So this one, I played the last 2 days. It was extremely windy. It was dry. Today it's kind of muddy and wet, so I'm not getting out there. I think there's too much risk to slip in that stuff. Because even the last 2 days, it didn't rain at all, but it was still a little bit slick out there. So the course is pretty straightforward. Reminds me a lot of kind of Jonesboro, that kind of feel. And then I feel like I feel like I'm throwing just overstable distance driver on pretty much every hole. Not many mid-ranges, just putter up shots and stuff like that. So it's either backhand or forehand, overstable shot. So yeah, I feel like it's pretty dialed in right now.
Yeah, and we know that you've had a few struggles on the putting green to start the season. Last week in Florida, you were connecting on a lot of putts. Do you feel like that tournament off the tour might have helped with your putting confidence?
In the circle, I don't feel like I have much struggle, especially this year and last year, and pretty much the last handful of years. It's mainly circle 2, so I feel like that just tends to to fall on the drive more or the upshots that I'm just not putting them as close as I should be. So I'm giving myself too many circle 2 looks, and it just kind of affects, and it kind of just doesn't look good. So I just need to get myself more circle 1 opportunities, and I feel like, you know, it'll look like I'm making every putt.
And is there anything specific about your circle 2 putt that you're working on?
Not necessarily. I think I just need to just be more confident with it, run it. I know I'm making the circle 1 putt, so I just need to run it with more confidence. I feel like just being too hesitant more so than anything.
Cool. Well, thank you for the conversation, Paul. And here's Brian Earhart with just a couple more questions.
Hello, Paul. A couple questions for you. First and foremost, I want to expand on the Thread on the Mountain course. I know you've done a lot of interviews about your purchase of the property. I want to hear more about your thoughts of the future of disc golf, like you were talking with Dylan Cease about. Do you feel like it kind of has to be people like you, Dylan, potentially now Simon with the contract that he has, buying up these private pieces of land and developing them for the tour to actually have non-traditional golf courses?
Sure. I don't think it has to be us. I think right now we're kind of capable of doing it, and it's mainly the players that are getting these contracts that, you know, we're given this opportunity and we've been gifted with disc golf, so we want to give back in some way, and what better way to put your name on a course. So I think that's who's doing it right now, but by no means does it have to be us. So. And I think you kind of touched on what we're kind of losing in disc golf is this shot shaping more so than anything, because it is easy to go out to a golf course and pop a course up. You know, there's so much land. You just put a basket here, a tee pad there, and you got a course. So it takes a different skill set to design these courses in the woods and create these holes that only right now I think a little bit of the old school disc golfers can see. So yeah, I think it's a skill that course designers have to have.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said out here with Perkins that you're pretty much throwing overstable distance driver on almost every shot out here. With the property that we're given, the 130 acres on this side of the street, is that, I don't want to say it too harshly, but is that a failure in course design when that's your shot option every time?
Seeing this property, it's a little bit harder. There's not a lot of woods on this property. It's a lot of open, I feel like, just grass fields. It almost feels more like a farm than it does a disc golf course. But it's kind of just what they're given here. So I heard that there might be more land somewhere else. So it might be the exact opposite of what we have here. But I mean, you look at something like Northwood Black, that's a long wooded course, but that's the land that they're given there. So I don't know. I don't know what Nashville has to offer throughout this other area, but you've seen some of the other courses we played in previous Music City Opens. They're wooded, but they're a little short.
Mm-hmm. Well, it does sound like we have 300 plus acres across the street that they're about to cut into. So we'll see if they have a wooded property over there. With that said, good luck this week, Paul. Thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
All right, we're here with DGPT CEO Jeff Spring, the man. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Thanks.
Good to hear. Hey, so we're all here. We're here in the moment here in Tennessee, volunteer state.
Yeah.
We're enjoying the beautiful Nashville weather, obviously. But hey, look, there's a lot of coordination that goes into the Pro Tour. But I wanted to take a chance to ask you about some of the collaboration you and the rest of your team have been putting forth for the upcoming major, and then also another major later on in the year with the Pro Worlds in Vermont.
Yeah, well, we're really excited about the Champions Cup year 2. After last year, there was some debate about where the event would go long term, and we gave our opinion saying that WR Jackson is a course that deserves a major every year if possible, and the IDGC is an amazing facility. So we're excited to go back there. You know, we support operations, spectators, try to bring everything to bear that the PDGA can need or asks of us. But I think that the idea on majors, whether it's the Champions Cup or Worlds or U.S. Women's, is how can we make this the best possible version of what the PDGA, the Disc Golf Pro Tour, all of disc golf can bring to bear for a great show for the spectators and the players. So
yeah,
we're excited.
There's absolutely no doubt that the influence of the Pro Tour, partnering with the PDGA has been excellent, especially for the majors in particular, bringing all this experience for sure. So looking forward to Vermont, are there any little, and Pro Worlds, are there any little teasers you can give us and give the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some changes on Brewster that are been permitted, approved, and now are about to be underway. Nothing dramatic, but we are going to, looks like, extend hole 8 into a par 5, which has been designed. We're going to put a bunch of extended tees out there and really have a definitive blue FPO course and gold MPO course. So about 6 holes worth of tweaks and adjustments and changes. Actually sets up some bigger advancements for Brewster long term. Little tweaks on Fox, but I think in terms of the courses, Steve Brinster has co-designed Fox and given his oversight too on Brewster. So he and I are really proud of what we're gonna show the world. And of course the team at Smuggler's Notch Disc Golf Center and the resort, super supportive, have been really great partners. But I think the courses are going to look better than ever, and the event is coming together well. Also, I think Corey Wong is slated to play again, and we're working on a second band for Fall Fest. So the spectator experience is going to be above and beyond anything that we've ever done. We're really excited to try to get about 3,000 people there on the weekend, maybe more, but right now that's our goal.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
The mention of music is a great segue back here to Tennessee, to Nashville, and the MCO. So this will be my last question before we kick it to Brian, but I just wanted to kind of get another little insight about here, what can we look forward to and the viewers look forward to this weekend with MCO and some of the, the new venue and things like that?
Well, Mill Ridge has improved since last year. I've been out on the course. It's been lengthened. There's a couple par 5s. They're using some land that's compelling, especially with some of the changes on the front 9. So I'm looking forward to just continued progression from the team out here. They put a lot of work in. There's a lot of infrastructure, or especially around tees that are has been installed. A lot of cleanup around kind of some squirrely areas that looks nice and fresh now. So I think that with this being elevated to elite, we're going to see a deeper field of some of the best in the world now after the silver event from last year, challenging a longer, cleaner, more challenging course.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Here's Brian.
Thanks, Danny.
Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Brian.
A couple questions for you. First one is really this stretch of the tour, especially the beginning stretch, always sparks the conversation amongst the fans. Why so many golf courses? And it almost feels like the answer is obvious. The infrastructure is there to handle spectators and to handle all the little things that make an Elite Series happen. But there's so many amazing disc golf courses that are in public parks, unfortunately. Is it possible to even have a public park used for a Disc Golf Pro Tour these days?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have an array of venues, and we do have some golf courses on there, but we don't always select and curate and manage each venue. We certainly are advancing our influence over time, but we trust event teams to put in compelling bids to our organization, and then we work with them to, approve and, really just make the venue as best as it can be in time of competition. So, we follow our process as we mature as an organization. This is year 4 for this Golf Pro Tour, this team and management oversight. So we're doing more and more with venue development for sure. There's certainly compelling venues at golf courses for some of the resources and some of the spectator room that we have to bring on, and I think we've done a great job with some golf courses. But Idlewild's a great example of a public park that's been great for tour, and it really depends on the relationship with the property owner or the venue owner or the landowner. If they're allowing you to shut down the facility, put a perimeter that's enforceable, and utilize the land as you see fit, as the event team and the Disc Golf Pro Tour see fit. The most property that has compelling land features undulation, elevation, maybe water, woods. You can make a great venue out of with the right designer. So I really just think it depends on the maturity of the property, the team that's working on site, and then the relationship with the venue owner. But as we get further into the season, we're proud of the Disc Golf Pro Tour's venues overall, because it's really a diverse slate of events. There are open courses, there are golf courses, but there's tight woods like Idlewild, Maple Hill, Brewster Ridge, and it's just to be a champion on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, you got to be able to have a really well-rounded game in all facets. And I know sometimes we get into pockets that feel maybe repetitive, but by the end of the year, we really test everything.
And thanks for answering that question. I think sometimes people believe that it has to be private land to have a Disc Golf Pro Tour, but yeah, like you said, a lot of places like Idlewild can handle that. Last question that I have for you, and you might not know a ton about this, you might know a bunch about this. Recently heard that there's 320 acres across the street of woods that they want to cut into at some point to put another course in. Are you brought into that process at all, or is that all local involvement?
Yeah, we are aware of the development potential across the street, and we work with the Music City Open event team on that type of development. There's also another park not too far from here that's potential that's actually been used in the past. And, with kind of referencing what I mentioned in my last answer, with more time and with solid event teams and those relationships, we're able to think about Nashville as a whole and how do we deliver the best experience for, course design, venue logistics, spectators on site, a beautiful picture for spectators online, and then of course the appropriate and compelling challenge for the players. So that all comes together. A place like Nashville, we're here long term because there's so much opportunity, whether it's here at Mill Ridge, across the street, another park. We're connecting with Metro Parks through Zach Hoy and his team to kind of find what's going to be best long term. But we're thinking 5 years, 10 years, and really dedicating, our commitment to the area because it is a great place to play disc golf, and there's a lot of people that play in the area.
Well, thank you for that, Jeff. I appreciate those answers. And with that, we'll let you go. You're free for the day.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
We'll be right back. Thank you.
All right, and we are here with Kristin Tattar. And Kristin, you went all the way back to Estonia since we last saw you in Houston. Can you talk about your trip?
Yeah, I had a really quick trip back home. I was supposed to fly out right after the competition ended, but due to Lufthansa strike, I had to rebook my flight, and I got home on Tuesday. But yeah, I had some stuff that I needed to attend to, so I had to go home. In a way, it seems like it was such a short trip, but in another sense, it feels like it was enough. So yeah, it was a great week home.
You're able to spend some time with your daughter, Isabel?
Yes, a little. I wasn't able to stay home this whole time. I was actually at home only one day. But yeah, we got to spend some time together and just to talk about everyday life, and I feel it had a great effect on me. Yeah.
And I want to ask you about the attention. Do you feel like that since winning the world championship, do you feel like you've received more attention in your home country of Estonia? We know we just saw you on the cover of Start magazine. Can you talk about what that was like?
Yes, of course. I've had a lot of attention due to the World Championships. But even prior to that, I feel like disc golf was on the rise, and disc golfers received a lot more attention than before. But yeah, I think me winning World Championships, it meant a lot to Estonia because we're such a small country of only like 1 million people. So if one Estonian is great at something or does something special, everybody wants to like bring them up, and just, yeah, it has been nice. And I've been contacted by a lot of magazines and newspapers, and done a lot of interviews, and it's been a crazy off season.
And I wanted to ask you about the decision to play on the Disc Golf Pro Tour versus on the European Pro Tour, the Euro Tour. I know that those tours they've taken big strides in the last couple years. And how do you make the decision to play over here in the States versus over in Europe?
I think Disc Golf Pro Tour really displays the values that where I want disc golf to move, and what direction I want disc golf to move at, because I feel like a professional athlete here. Not that I feel the opposite in Europe, but they're taking the steps towards becoming more similar to Disc Golf Pro Tour. And it is my dream to be able to like travel worldwide and tour worldwide. Right now I feel like it's more centered around the US, but it's getting closer to becoming a world tour, so we'll see. But yeah, I think a lot of the attention you get here, not in Europe, so that's why I feel like it's more important to be here and be promoted as a disc golf player. And I don't know, yeah, I guess that's it.
So hypothetically, if you could take the tour and take it to any part of the world, which part of the world would you like to tour the most?
I don't know even. I guess the perfect answer is that it's everywhere in the world. So you can travel in North America, in South America. You can play in Europe, also in Asia. Why not in Australia? I mean, I would love to see the world and different disc golf communities, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, so we're here in Nashville, Tennessee, and from my perspective, it's a much different place than Tallinn, Estonia. What would you say is the biggest difference between a city like Nashville and your home city?
It's just a lot bigger. There's so much more people here. I don't know. It's just the size of it, I guess, is the biggest difference for me. Yeah.
What about the style of golf here in the U.S. versus the style of golf over in Estonia?
I think here it's more versatile. In Estonia, it's mainly just flat ground and like narrow wooded tunnels. Here you get everything. Like the landscape could be a lot different from one week to another. It could be open, it could be more wooded. So I think it's just more exciting for me as a disc golf player. Yeah. And
my last one for you, I just found out that the European Championships is going to be held in Tallinn, Estonia, this season. And are you going to be playing that event? And what are your thoughts on Estonia hosting European Championship?
I think it's great that Estonia got the chance to host European Championships, and it really shows what effect Estonia has had on disc golf, on European disc golf especially. But at the same time, I'm really torn between two events, I must say. It really breaks my heart that that D-Glow and European Championship take place at the same time. I would love to be at both events, and I would just leave it at that. We'll see.
All right, that is a tough decision. And thank you for the conversation. Here's Brian Earhart with a couple more.
Hi.
Hey.
Just one actual question for you. You came off of a battle in Houston with Sai Ananda, who got her first Disc Golf Pro Tour win. It was just captivating television to watch. It was a great tournament. How satisfied with that performance were you, and how are you maybe feeling this week?
I think I had a great time there. I can't say that I was at the peak of my performance, but I really battled through just some stuff. I didn't feel as confident as I felt in Waco. But overall, getting a second place, I think I'm pretty happy with that. And I was also super happy to see Sai play so well. Like, it was mind-blowing to me. She was hitting putts, and I think it was one of the first times that I had the chance to play with her, actually. And she is just a sweetheart, and I look forward to more battles with her, yeah.
So then this week, moving forward after that battle in Houston, how's the game feeling this week? How are you feeling on this course?
My arm hurts a little bit from throwing. I didn't have a chance to play last week because I had so much stuff to do. So here, I feel like I have to throw some bombs here, and I threw too many discs, I feel like. But I really like the course. I really like the landscape and the shot shaping here. So yeah, I'm just excited to have the chance to be here and to play this course. So I'm just I'm looking forward to how it rolls out.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you out there. Kristin, get some rest tonight, and we'll let you go.
Thank you.
We'll be right back in just a minute.
All right, and we are here now with Calvin Heimburg. Calvin, the curls are dropping down in front of your eyes. At what point do you trim those back?
Probably pretty soon. I mean, that's certainly always been the metric is when it starts getting in my vision, I'll cut it back. So probably pretty soon.
All right, and I want to hear about your week off. You win Texas State's down in Houston, and you cruised up to Arkansas, Hot Springs area?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went up to Hot Springs. Some other people, got a chance to relax. But, went and looked for some rocks, found some quartz crystals out there, which around Mount Ida, which that area is super well known for. I'd never gone and looked for stuff out there, so it was super cool. And then also got to go to a derby day, a horse race. So that was pretty fun. Ended up guessing the last couple winners right, made some money out of that, so that was an added bonus. And then, played a skins match at Persimmon Ridge on Sunday before I headed over here on Monday.
All right, sounds like a pretty good week. Horse betting, crystals, and a skins match.
Yep.
How did the skins match go for you? Feeling good?
Skins match didn't go very well for me, but it was still fun. It was the first time out there playing at Persimmon Ridge, and hope to make it back out there at some point.
And so I want to ask you, you're looking great this season. You haven't finished outside of the podium. On your week off, you said that you're able to take some time to relax. Do you still mix in some practice? Are you still hitting the basket? Are you putting at all? Are you working on anything?
Not as much for sure, but I was fortunate to where I was staying had a 9-hole course on it, so I did get to play some shorter holes. Still got to keep sharp on everything, but I would definitely say I lessen on the grind as far as practice putting, and then just making sure everything is super sharp. So that was kind of what I made sure to do this week, practicing, getting ready for this event. It's my first time out here, so had to learn some lines. I know it's changed quite a bit from even other iterations, but I was just getting out here, learning the course, making sure everything felt good.
Cool. And we've noticed the addition of the power forehand to your game, something we've seen a bit of in the past, but it seems like you've found a little bit more confidence in the forehand. Can you talk about how you found that confidence?
Yeah, I don't know if I can pinpoint a specific moment where it's just been like, yeah, I'm going to use it more, but I think some of it's just, added repetitions. I've been working on it for quite a bit of time, and with added reps, I'm more willing to bust it out in a tournament. So I think it's been like a slow progression over the past couple of years, but I definitely feel more confident in using it and throwing it in at a longer range this year than I have in the past. So it's definitely been an added benefit to my game and allowed me to get out of trouble in some tricky positions.
All right, well, thank you, Calvin. Here's Brian Earhart with a few more questions.
Hello, Calvin.
Hey.
A couple questions for you. First off, I wanted to piggyback off of Perkins' question about your forehand.
Mm-hmm.
When you say you work on your forehand, are you going to the field and grinding field work with your forehand, or is it just simply incorporating it more during practice rounds or just trying it during tournaments?
I think it's less going out to a field and grinding it out. It's more making sure you're throwing it during your practice rounds. I think that's kind of how I started getting better at it. It was just forcing myself to throw more forehands. Sometimes throwing forehands on holes that don't really require a forehand. It's just getting that extra rep in, seeing it work on a course, and then you slowly implement it into the tournament play as you start to feel more comfortable with it.
Have you ever been a fieldwork grinder at all?
Yeah, I definitely think I put in some good time in the field back when I was in college. My freshman year of college, I lived in a dorm and didn't have a vehicle, so really the only way to play disc golf was either go out to the field that was out behind my dorm or take like a 35-minute bus ride out to the local course. So I would say that point in time I did a lot of field work. There's points in the off season where I walk down the street and there's a big field that I get a chance to throw in, but as a whole, I don't think I'm super big on hitting the field as much as some other people maybe.
I mean, you've put the work in early, obviously, and now you're full-time doing this almost every weekend. You're playing at quite a few of the silver events this year. I think that's more so than a lot of players at your caliber right now. Do you use those silver events to work on anything, or are you just going pedal to the metal at those events?
I don't think I'm using the silver event to work on anything. I think it's a good place to make sure you're still staying sharp. I definitely think I almost struggle sometimes to focus as much at those events, or at least I have in the past, just because it has less significance to me. But, that's one of my goals this year, staying focused in every tournament round I play and play it out to the very end. So I think I showed that I was able to do that, at pretty much every event this year. So I've definitely embodied that mindset. So, yeah.
The sentiment for this course, Mill Ridge, this week, in regards to the changes that have been made, have been pretty positive for most of the players. Paul McBeth did say that he's throwing an overstable driver in almost every tee shot. Do you feel like, number one, that the changes are well received for you, and then number two, do you feel like you're also leaning on that overstable driver a lot out here?
So I can't really comment in regards to changes because I've never played out here before this week. I will say the current layout, I think there are a good amount of places where I'm leaning on. I don't know if I'd say an overstable driver. It just depends on the direction of the wind, but definitely a stable to slightly overstable disc. So I think there's plenty of that out here, but there's also some shorter holes that require some mid ranges as well.
I want to jump into actually hole number 3, the short little technical hole. A lot of players are chattering about it. It's only 270 feet or so, but a lot of people are either making jokes about the shape of the hole or trying some weird lines on it. Do you feel like that chatter is valid, or do you feel like the hole is pretty easily solved?
I don't think it's easily solved. It's definitely not a normal shot that you'd see us have on tour. I think optically it looks awful. Like, there's no way around that. I'm not sure how well it's going to film, but I mean, the tee pad's just kind of not really pointed in the same direction as the fairway, and then based on the angle of that tee pad, you look down the fairway and there's just like two thin little gaps on the side of a cluster of a few trees. So it's definitely solvable. I think you just play to give yourself a putt rather than trying to park it. I think trying to park it is what's going to get you into trouble on that hole. But definitely not my favorite hole out here. I think there's plenty of better holes, and then I just feel like visually it looks pretty bad.
Well, we'll just see how it plays out this week. And Calvin, good luck. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you.
We'll be right back in just a minute.
All right, and we are here with Macie Velediaz. And Macie, where is Morristown, Tennessee?
It's about 3 hours from here. It's in between like Johnson City, Kingsport area, and Knoxville. So it's like right in the middle.
Okay, out east over there.
Yeah.
And it looks like you just had a good battle with Juliana Korver out there. Can you talk about that tournament?
Yeah, it's great to just be able to go back and play courses that I've played since I started playing disc golf. It's not like Kingsport and Johnson City area isn't like my hometown, but I mean, it's only 45 minutes from my house, so we still would go out there a bunch and play, and it was nice to be able to play with Juliana and get a battle out there, and she was coming for me that last day, but yeah, it was a lot of fun out there, and it's always a pleasure to play with Juliana, and then also just like people that I've played with growing up, like Donna Barr, and so yeah, it's always fun to go out there and play.
All right, and we've seen you on the Disc Golf Pro Tour quite a bit, especially last year, but it looks like you're kind of committed to a full tour this season.
Yeah, I'm playing probably like I'd say 90% of them. I'm not going to any of the West Coast stuff, but other than that, I'm going to be at most of them, and I'm hopefully be able to go to the European Open this year as well. So.
All right, and so what does the travel look like for you this year? What are you traveling in?
Me and Jamie are just traveling in our Subaru. We're just trying to stay in Airbnbs with people or hotels or Hoping maybe someone will host us here and there. Yeah, we are thinking about getting a van maybe down the road, or an RV. But right now we're just going with the flow, kind of.
All right. And so I want to ask you specific about Mill Ridge. Do you feel like your game connects pretty well with the lay of the land out here?
Yeah, I really like this course. I've enjoyed it in the past years, but I think this year the course has just gotten better, and I feel like I'll throw a lot of forehands here off the tee and as upshots as well. So I think that suits my game really well. It's not a lot of touchy backhand shots, power forehand shots.
And we've seen you play some good stretches of golf already this season, but you've yet to crack the top 10. Is there anything that you are keying in on that's kind of preventing you from the finishes that you expect of yourself?
Yeah, it's very weird because I've been practicing probably more this off season than I've ever practiced before. I would go to the field by myself, which I've never done. I would go putt outside every single day, and I have all this confidence. Like every time I step up to a course, I'm like, I'm going to do so well. And then I'll play a couple holes very well. And then that one hole where I'm just like, maybe I lose focus or I just throw a bad upshot, and then it all just starts crumbling down for me. And I don't know what's the problem. There's nothing really I can point out and say it is, but I'm just going to have to keep pushing and keep with that same mindset of the confidence and just hoping that it's all going to click. All the practice I put in is just going to work together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to really put your finger on it.
Yeah, I don't
the game
really
of golf.
know.
Yeah. And so are you able to still kind of return to the field throughout the season, or is that something that you kind of close the door on when you start competing?
Yeah, I'll still go. Like, we're going to go home a couple times. Like, we just got here yesterday, and we've been home for 2 weeks. So when I go home, I try to hit the field and just work on my upshots. But when we're on the tour, like every weekend, I kind of just go to the course and play the courses, and then go play some of the holes where I'm not more comfortable with, instead of playing the whole layout again, just playing some of the holes and keying on those.
So you just got here yesterday. Were you able to get a practice round in?
Yeah, we played yesterday. I did a video with Kona. We did a match play video. That's actually the only practice I've had. It was match play, and it was one disc kind of thing. And I threw extra shots, but I'm trying to go out here today and play some of the holes. But with this course, I feel like if you just know where the OBs are and you know like the line of the course, you should be able to throw most of the holes.
Yeah. Are there any holes that are sticking out to you that you feel like might make the difference here this weekend?
Yeah, I think that it's going to come down to the last 3 holes, like 16, 17. They're both island holes, and if there's any wind on 16, it's going to be very hard to get it in bounds. Yesterday we had a very strong headwind, and it was very hard to get in bounds. 17, I'm more comfortable with it because I'm just going power forehand off the tee. But yeah, I think those 2 holes are going to definitely make someone's round or break their round.
Yeah. So you said that you feel the confidence in the power backhand, not so much the touch backhand. Is the power forehand something that we're going to see a little bit more of from you this year?
Yeah. I mostly try to rely on my forehand if I can. Maybe not like off the tee as much, but if it does call for a forehand tee shot, then I will throw it. But for every upshot, I try to go to a forehand. I'll just try to make any line possible a forehand as possible, because it's like I'm struggling really hard with throwing putter backhand approaches. But I've been practicing a lot on them, so I'm just going to go out there and hope that they work out in the tournament. It's kind of all I'm hoping for.
All right. Well, good to see you, Macie, and thank you for the conversation. Here's Brian Earhart with a few more.
Thank you.
Hello, Macie. A couple questions for you. First off, you're talking with Nate about how much practice you're putting in. This is your first big full-time tour, and we can tell. We can tell you're putting in this work. And also, I want you to talk more about the other side, not just the practicing of throwing, but it sounds like you've been making some huge fitness strides for your personal health. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel great. I'm kind of at that spot where like I've done it for a while and I've lost the weight I've wanted to lose, but then there's like you have to get past that like spot where you're like, okay, now I'm here, now let's keep going. It gets harder when we go on the road and we're out with friends and all that stuff, because then it's like I don't really plan when I'm going to eat. We just kind of go out and go. But yeah, it's just helping me get through the tournaments too without like being exhausted at the end of the day. Like I'm just feeling so much better. I'm feeling healthier, and yeah, I'm excited to just keep going and keep pushing.
So a lot of people in disc golf, say that fitness and strength and whatnot doesn't matter as much as maybe technique. But you, as a professional disc golfer, do you feel any different throwing the disc now that you've gotten in better shape and you're more proud of your fitness?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just hitting the gym, I feel like I'm throwing farther and my legs just feel stronger. Yeah, it's like you said, like, you know, the touch and all that stuff is still like, the gym doesn't help that much with that, but it does help with the power shots and me being able to finish the course without feeling like I'm about to die. So,
not dying on the course is
Yes.
very nice to have. But I guess I'll move forward to this week. You mentioned that you're really excited to play this course. In regards to Tennessee disc golf, where does this particular course rank for you?
yeah, there's so many good courses. Like in Morristown, they have great courses there, and then Harmon Hills, and that's in Fall Branch, which is a great course. This course for me, I think that, I don't know, I can't rank it compared to all the other courses, but I really like the course, and I really enjoy coming back here. I'm excited to see how I play this week. I know last year I battled it with Missy, and I lost in the 14, so yesterday during practice round, I threw hole 14, and I cleared the gap, and I was like, in your face, like you don't have me again. But I don't know, I'm really excited to be out here, and I just love coming to this place. I love coming to Nashville and just being home in Tennessee.
Something endearing about the Tennessee disc golfers, I mean, Melton, Dickerson, yourself, you're very passionate about the state of Tennessee and the disc golf here in Tennessee. If infrastructure like parking and spectators were not an issue, what course from Tennessee would you like to see on the tour?
I would love to see Harmon Hills and Fall Branch on the tour. I think they had maybe U.S. Women's there one year. But the property there is beautiful, and they put so much hard work into that course. So, and then not only that, but the tournament directors up there, like Tim Barr, they're very good at that. So I think that that would be such a great place to have a tournament there.
Fantastic. Well, you were so close last year, taking down the victory. Let's see if you can do it this year. Good luck this week.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back in just a couple of minutes.
All right, and we're here with Ricky Wysocki. And Ricky, how we doing today?
Sorry, just watching the Masters, you know, watching the LIV PGA controversy. No, that's been fun to watch for sure. But how you doing, Nate?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Yeah, I just want to say, you know, it pains me as well as a lot of the disc golf community to see you have to pull out of so many events. We know that you're very open about how much work that you put in to your physical and mental health to go out there and do what you do. And I want to ask you how the wrist is doing.
It's doing good. I mean, I don't mind talking about it because, you know, I mean, Lyme disease is a crazy thing, and it's very prevalent in the disc golf community, so I don't mind being an advocate and spreading the word as much as I can. But yeah, I've been doing a lot better. I think that this week's trending really upwards, and it's trending to the point where I can play. And I played 100%, almost 100% practice round the other day. I was throwing some long drives, making putts, and my wrist was working really well. So I'm going to go out today and try to get 9 holes in and try to get my game where I need it to perform this week.
So you're playing 100% in.
Yeah, I'm playing this week. I think that the conditions, it looked like it was going to rain earlier in the week, but I'm gonna be out there. I'm gonna be. I feel like if I'm healthy, I know I can win. So that's really my biggest thing, is just being healthy, and then everything else will take care of itself.
All right, and bringing us back to the Masters, you've been a fan of golf for some time now.
Yeah, I love golf. I think that it's just, there's so many there's so many similarities with what they go through and all the variables they get thrown at on crazy courses like Augusta National, and that's kind of like comparable to our USDGC, where they got lots of out of bounds, lots of tough shots, and so it's just, I love watching golf. I think it's definitely, I'm a fan for sure, and I'm rooting for the live guys this week. I think it's going to stir up the golf world if one of them wins. I think it's good for the game to see those storylines pop up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. You feel like the live tour is good for the PGA Tour?
I mean, I'm not saying I support the live, but I just think that as far as, seeing like a live guy win this week with all the, they wanted to kind of hold the live guys out from playing the tournament. But at the end of the day, there's 5 or 10 guys that are inside the top 50 in the world that are on the live golf, and you can't deny that. If you want to play at the highest level and have the best players week in and week out, I mean, a lot of them are on the live tour. There's no denying that. Yeah. And that's just, it's even though they don't have a world ranking right now, everyone knows Cam Smith, DJ, and Brooks Koepka are top 20, 30 players in the world.
Yep. And so, I mean, we have a lot of similarities, with golf, with the PGA Tour. Do you feel like the DGPT should kind of follow in the footsteps of the PGA Tour with how they model things, with how they set up tournaments, with how they film things?
Yeah, I think we're getting, the DGPT is doing a great job as far as the tournaments and promoting the events, and I think we're on a great path, and I'm thankful to be a part of that and using my fan base to grow the game as well. But yeah, they just give us such a great platform through these tournaments, with the spectator experience that, that gives us the energy and feeds our competitive spirit out there on the course. And I think that, I'm super thankful to the DGPT, what they've done over the years to take steps every year to get better infrastructure for the events, for the players, for the spectators, and everybody involved with the DGPT event. It just gets better every year, and I'm super thankful to see that firsthand as one of the top players.
All right. So back to the golf here at Mill Ridge. You said that you were able to get a practice round nearly 100%. What are your thoughts on the property out here and some of the changes?
I enjoy it. I think that they took out some of the mediocre to bad holes and they replaced them with good par 4s, par 5s, and I think that we're in for a treat. I mean, I think that the fairways can get slick. I think that's the one downfall out here is drainage isn't the best, but I think the rain's going to hold out. Looks like the weekend looks like it's not going to rain too much, and I think it'll have time to dry out. So I think the round Saturday and Sunday will be dry, and people will be able to go low, and you'll see some low scores. I'm super excited for that. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of like a mix between Jonesboro and Iowa, where the rolling hills, you got the ponds, you got the OB, and you obviously got the wind. That's always a factor. But yeah, the property is perfect design for disc golf, and I think that they did a great job out here.
Cool. And we do have somewhat of a controversial hole in hole 3. We've seen overhand tomahawk. We've seen forehand rollers and just kind of a flex backhand. I wanted to ask you about that hole and what you might be throwing there.
I want to hate on the hole, but I think that when we play bomb and gouge par 4s where you're throwing 500 feet and throwing an upshot, throw 500 feet, 600 feet, then throw an upshot. So I think that the par 3, wooded par 3 that has a lot of variance, you could 2 it, you could 4 it, 5 it. I'm not going to hate on it. I think it's a tough hole no matter which way you throw it. It's a challenging hole, and you're going to gain strokes on the field if you birdie it. So I mean, I think it's not much different as far as score separation than a wide open hole with out of bounds everywhere. It's just instead of being out of bounds, you're in the trees. So I think it's a change of pace, and I'm personally never play holes well if I don't like this hole. You go into that hole with that mindset. You're not going to play it well. So I don't want to hate on it. I want to have a fresh mindset, and I don't want to let my mental frame make me play that hole bad. So.
All right. No, I love that. I do. And Rick, it's great to see you, man. I'm happy that the wrist is feeling good. We're all happy that you're competing, and thank you for the conversation. Here's Brian Earhart with a couple more for you.
Thanks, Nate.
Howdy, Rick.
Hey.
Got a couple for you. First and foremost, just talked to Paul McBeth. Everyone's talking about him buying up the course in Florida, and him and Dylan Cease sounds like they're trying to take over the disc golf world, but buying up courses left and right. Is there anything in the future for you in regards to buying a property for disc golf? Is that even something that you dream of doing in the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I live in Arizona, so property's tough out there. It'd be something that we have to do it on the East Coast or somewhere in Texas or something like that. That's definitely something I want to do. I think, I got another couple years before I really want to start thinking about that in my career, but it's definitely something that it's a super fun venture to get into, to be able to just have a course, manicure it from start to finish. That's a dream as a disc golfer. I think we all want to have a piece of property where we can just design it and do everything we want and call it our own. So, yeah, I definitely want to do that someday.
Have you gotten into any course design in the past? Have you done anything before?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've gained tons of knowledge playing in, Thailand, Japan, Australia, all over the world. So I've seen designs from all over the world, and I think that I have the knowledge stored in my head to the fact that I've seen so many different holes and so many different courses throughout the world. So yeah, I think one day I want to get into it. It's just time consuming, and I don't, I feel like I still want to dedicate my time to practicing and playing.
Of course. I want to jump back, actually. You've been touring as one of the top players before the Disc Golf Pro Tour was even close to being a thing. And with Perkins asking you about the PGA and the Live Tour and whatnot, was there a lot of chatter back before the Disc Golf Pro Tour started about people wanting to start their own pro tours? What was that like back then?
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to talk about it, but I mean, I'm the type of person to where, yeah, it's easy to talk about it, but it's another thing to go and do it. I mean, as I've seen the DGPT form into what it is. It takes so much. It's one thing for a disc golfer. We see it from the totally different side than Jeff Spring and all the higher ups at the DGPT. So there's just so many moving parts that people don't think about. It's easy to just, oh yeah, I want to start my own tour. We're going to play all the best courses that, in Europe and US and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's just, there's so many moving parts and things that people don't think about that it would take years to get to that point. It's not an overnight thing. Mm-hmm. And even then it's not even a guaranteed thing that it's going to be a great quality product.
Definitely. Well, thanks for that perspective. And I guess I'll ask you one question about maybe your play this week to focus into the tournament more. Watched you practice, watched you throw some forehands on hole number 17. You mentioned that your wrist is feeling relatively good. Is there any sort of thought in the back of your head of fear of pain when you're throwing at this point? Or is that something that you have to kind of block out ahead of time?
Yeah, I think that I'm in the stage now where, as a lot of people with pain, you kind of, your brain perceives the pain and expects it before you throw. So I think I'm at that stage where it's not actually painful, but my brain is right before I throw, my brain's like, oh, don't do that, it's gonna hurt, Mm-hmm. So I think that it's kind of gotta get the connection between my brain and my wrist to say, hey, your wrist is okay, it's not hurting, but it's just been inflamed and hurting so long for months that it's hard for me to make that connection with my brain, hey, your wrist is good, you can throw hard and not have to hold back. And the funny thing is actually it's worse when I'm putting. I can throw as hard as I can with a backhand, but when I go to putt, sometimes I'll feel it kind of fall out of my hand. I don't have the grip strength, but that's kind of been in Austin. That was what was happening. Once it started getting inflamed later in the rounds, I couldn't really grip my putter, and so that was a big problem. But I don't think I'm going to run into that now. I think I'm kind of past that.
Fantastic. Well, that's great to hear. Thanks for being so open and honest about this. It's probably a touchy subject for some, but good luck out there this week. I'm sure there's a lot of people really excited to watch you play.
Thanks, Brian. I'm so glad to be back.
Great. Well, we'll be back in just a minute.
All right, and we are here now with Tournament Director Dr. Zachary Hoy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's good to see you. I believe we met probably 5, maybe even 6 years ago. I hosted an event, and you guys basically ran it for me, allowed me to play. But it's really cool to see the evolution of the Music City Open, and you've been a part of this event for how long now, Zach?
I've probably been a part of this for about 5 to 7 years, kind of in various roles, and then the TD for the past 2 years.
All right, and what are some of the challenges of being the tournament director for an Elite Series event?
I think one of the big challenges is raising more money. We're getting the payouts up there, and that's a big thing, but we've got a lot of new partners that are actually starting to see the growth of disc golf, and so we have a lot of Nashville has a lot of big companies, and so once they start to see, they have people that play and they start to see that, they can support that. And then also making it competition ready, and in Nashville kind of has the other concerts, music and things like that, but getting the competition up to speed of some of the other places on tour is one of our goals for that.
And so Nashville has a lot of diverse disc golf courses, yet we choose to come here to Mill Ridge Park and set this course up just for this event. Can you talk to us about the golf here at Mill Ridge and how we chose this as the venue?
I think the biggest thing out here is space, and it's not used for many other things. So it's owned by Metro Parks in Nashville, and the Friends of Mill Ridge kind of take care of their stewards of the park. We have a lot of space. We can do everything on site, from player vending, having the vending area, and having a lot of space for spectators. That's one of our biggest things. We even had to reopen more VIP tickets this year for the demand for this Elite Series event. And so having a lot of space and the openness, I think that's one of the big pluses, and there's not other things going on out here. We're not having to shut down a playground area and things like that. They do a lot of birding and nature things out here, and we're kind of, going along right alongside them.
Cool. And I'd like to hear about the specifics of the changes here this year. What is that process like? Who are you working with? And expand on those a little bit.
So we have a process where we kind of look at the kind of scoring from last year. One of the biggest changes are the last 4 holes. Like hole 15 was hole 17 last year. 16's an island hole. 17's got island area, but it's not a true island green. And 18's a really long, challenging hole. And so we wanted to challenge the players, challenge their endurance. And we kind of look at that where it's going to hopefully produce some kind of exciting results. And what we usually do is way earlier after the event last year, we started looking at hole design and see what parts of the property we could use. And we kind of have a core group of people that we look at, and then we see like what's the scoring separation and kind of look at it like that.
Yeah. And I'm curious, how are you able to, to make a pitch? What do you say to a big company to get them to join the Music City Open, as far as, how do you get a company like Gibson on board for a tournament?
I think one of the biggest things is that we have a lot of those employees that play disc golf. And so we're always grinding at smaller events, and we do a lot we work with the Tennessee School for the Blind. We work with a new company called Water Walkers of Tennessee, where they're getting children and youth involved in a senior area, like in a living community. And so getting them involved, and then a lot of them have either retired from companies and they have contacts. And once the people from companies come out and they see the YouTube video, so now having the media is a lot easier to show them this is disc golf. A lot of people think it's, just Frisbees in the park, and they come out and see it live action and they're hooked. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And we have a lot of those people for, next year potential sponsors, coming out to this event so they can really see how that kind of goes for that.
And so we heard just this morning that there's actually 300 plus acres across the street.
That's correct.
Can you expand on that a little bit and what you might hope to do with that land?
Yeah, so there's about 120 to 150 acres over here, and then there's about 300 to 350 acres across the street. There's a farmhouse over there. They do a lot of planting, the Friends of Mill Ridge. And so we would likely be able to have some land and set it up as more of a wooded course, a more wooded technical course. But there's so much land out there, we could hopefully have a bigger area to do a more challenging, longer wooded course for that. So that's what we're hoping to do, and we're hoping to get this park semi-permanent, and we're going to work with them after the Metro Parks after this to try to get that semi-permanent as well for that.
All right, and We got about an inch of rain over the last 24 hours. How do you feel like Mill Ridge is going to hold up this weekend?
I think one of the keys to Mill Ridge is it does have a lot of elevation. If you look at it in Google Maps, it's kind of got a lot of sneaky elevation. You may not be able to tell. And so I think a lot of the holes are going to drain well. We're actually out right now kind of, mulching some final areas and putting some gravel down and things like that. So I think it should hold up. It's also pretty windy, so that's going to help dry some things out. So I think it's going to hold up well in our T-pad design. We plan that with Tennessee weather in mind, so I think we'll be good on that front.
All right. Well, it's good to see you again, Zach, and thank you for the conversation. Here's Brian Earhart with a few more for you.
Thank you.
Hello, Zach.
Hey, Brian. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Couple questions for you.
Okay.
We have to talk about the acreage that Perkins just brought up. Obviously,
Yes.
It's so exciting when someone says there's 300 acres of woods that
Right.
we get to cut into,
Yeah.
especially with the lack of truly wooded courses in this stretch of the tour. Normally, those pop in halfway through or late in the season. Have you decided already on course designers? Are you even having that conversation about designing the course yet?
We haven't determined that yet, but we'll probably do it like we kind of have a small group of kind of community-minded people that kind of work on this event and would also work on that. But we also, one of the big things is we ask a lot of the touring pros after this event to get some constructive feedback. And so we'd probably get kind of a group consensus and then narrow that down to a smaller group when we start putting things in the ground, and then not be married to any one idea and kind of do what's best for the course.
Great, and I guess we can jump back to Mill Ridge. The sentiment from the players this week has been very positive, and the players care very deeply about the courses. They care very deeply
Yes.
about the tour and where the future of disc golf is going, and they're very critical most of the time. So, who can you attribute the blame for all the
Right.
positive sentiment?
I would say one of the biggest things, Sean Sinclair is the main course designer. Ryan Tracy's helped out a lot with course design. Jay Skinner, assistant TD, and myself. And so one of the things is we've been trying to clean up this course a little bit more, so it's a little bit more, accessible. And I think that's one of the big things. Also, Chris Dickerson was very key because he sent us a list last year of very constructive feedback, very specific feedback, and a lot of the other pros that played the event last year had sent us that, and we took that into, took that into account. And then DGPT, we worked a lot with them, and they sent us a lot of, constructive feedback, like I would try this on this hole, this landing zone, not just I like this hole, I didn't like this hole. And so that's very helpful, especially with the pros this year. They've been talking to us about, maybe you should try this or maybe you should try this. We kind of take that into account, and then we try to make the best possible.
That's fantastic, and I walked the course as well and was extremely pleased. I played the first iteration here two or 3 years ago, and it looks amazing. It looks like it's playing fantastic. A lot of the holes that needed changing were changed, and I think now the land is being used phenomenally. I guess the last question that I have for you is there ever going to get to a point when we will see not as many radical changes to this course, and Mill Ridge will kind of be very similar year after year?
I think that's a big thing that we want to do kind of after this year. This is the biggest crowd that we've had as far as competitors and level of competition. And so we want people to say, oh, that's hole 3 at Mill Ridge, that's hole 17 at Mill Ridge, how people talk about other courses. And, we got to keep those the same and just do more kind of, I say, editing more than revising, and I think that will be helpful because then the players start to know the holes, the spectators start to know the holes, and that really helps us. And so I think kind of fine tuning. So I think after this year, we wouldn't change it significantly for that.
Thank you. And I guess one last question. You can comment on this or not comment on this. With the added acreage that's being opened up to have a course design on it, that'll be 2 courses right by each other. Is Nashville potentially going to move into the space of being one of the places where a World's bid comes from?
That's a big part of our kind of long-range plans. We always have a 3 to 5 year plan. And that's a big part of things. And, the first thing is kind of saying, can we have that many people in town? Do we have the support staff? Do we have the other staff? And we also have to have the courses. And so I think fine-tuning this course and then starting on that and then helping with that. But that is a goal of Nashville, is bringing Pro Worlds.
That is amazing news. And thank you so much for all the work you've put in. And it's almost over for you. We'll let you go today.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're wrapping up today. See you out there.